Hi everybody, I am Dr. Perpetua Neo. I'm a clinical psychologist and a leadership coach and an author of the book, This Is What Matters. Today, I'll be talking with you on how to study smarter, not harder, meaning how do we double your focus so that you can actually study fewer hours and do better. So when we're thinking about focus, we often think it's just about how much time we get to look at the study material over and over again. And quite often in Southeast Asia, what happens is you get teachers who praise kids who are studying for 6 hours or 8 hours or 12 hours at a stretch. So the whole idea here is to figure out how long is your optimum point that you can just immerse in your study material. So whether it's 2 hours or 1 hour, half an hour or 6 minutes or even less, that is important to know what it is like so you can maximize it, because you retain the most from what you study in the beginning of your slot and the end of your slot, not in the middle. So if you've got someone with a very low attention span trying to do it across 6 hours, you're going to retain the first 5 minutes or even less because you're a bit bored, and then you're going to retain the last 5 minutes, which means you're going to be wasting 5 hours and 50 minutes. How do we make sure that our brain is in a calm and good state? So many times a day, our fear center or amygdala hijacks us and takes us over. And when that happens, your higher brain, the prefrontal cortex, goes offline. So you're making bad decisions, or you are basically starting from a state of franticness. So what you need to do then is take 3 deep breaths correctly to reset your brain and get your prefrontal cortex online. So what I mean by correctly is when we get nervous, when we get stressed and anxious, we breathe wrongly. So, the last time when somebody told you to take a photo and smile, you tend to suck in your breath, right? And that's how we breathe when we are nervous. So make sure that when you breathe, your belly is like a balloon and you're filling up with air, and then slowly you're deflating it for 8 seconds. And when you can do that 3 times, you're going to basically reset your brain and study from a fresher and better state. So one of the biggest problems when it comes to mental fatigue and brain fog is actually what's going on in your body. So this is not just about telling yourselves that you are brave, you are smart, and you've got great focus. This is really about controlling what's going on in your biology. So what we're going to talk about here is making sure, 1, you hydrate enough. Okay, because when you're hydrating, then what happens is your body is in the right chemical balance, and that helps you to focus better. So make sure that for every cup of coffee you're drinking double the amount of water. Even if you're going to the bathroom, that's okay. Exercise grows your brain, okay? And second is make sure that before you go into an extended study spurt, you are not carb loading. So we've all heard of this thing called the carb coma or the serotonin slump, which means that when you take too much white carbs before doing something else, you get very, very tired and you sleep. Like I can nap for 5 hours after a carb heavy meal. So make sure that you're doing something that's high in protein and vegetables. And if you have to eat carbs, first have proteins and vegetables first, and that will cause your blood glucose spike to actually be lower than if you just dig in and dive into that pure carb. I would say that breaks are a weapon. Rest is a weapon. So this is something that elite Olympians taught me, right? Elite sports people like Olympians taught me that if you want to go to the next level from being great to elite, then you have to rest, you have to recover. Otherwise, your body will force you into recovery by making you ill and sick and achy. So when it comes to optimum rest, there is no right and wrong. Again, you have to experiment to see what works for you. But let's say, you've got let's say you're working really, really hard, then you have to make sure that you sleep enough at night, or you are able to put in the naps in between your day. And if your attention span is short, so let's say my 6-minute attention span, this is when, I set an alarm to help my brain to be convinced or persuaded to, okay, I'm just going to do this 6 minutes, and then I'm going to pause when the alarm rings again. And this pause refreshes my brain so that when I get back to the next 6-minute spurt, or if I decided to make it 12 or 18 minutes, I am able to retain my information a lot better and reflect so that I learn deeper. So when it comes to stress, not all stress is bad for you. Stress is actually good for you and it can motivate you. So, we need a little bit of stress in order to kick us out of a lazy procrastinating state or an indolent state when we don't want to do anything. So that kind of stress that helps you to want to do something, good, use it, ride the waves when it happens, okay? But when it's bad stress that tells you bad things about yourself, like you're so stupid, you're so lazy, you'll never do well, and you're always rehearsing in your head all the times you've got it bad, and you're overinflating that because that's how your brain is wired, okay? That's when you have to stop. This is when you do a three times breath reset to reset your brain and help your prefrontal cortex, your higher brain, come back online. So if a student wants to basically optimize their focus and their performance, especially during busy exam seasons or the prelude to that, then your sleep and your nutrition are super important. So when it comes to sleep, make sure that you are sleeping enough hours. So in this sense, be aware of what your chronotype is. So you can just Google this thing called your chronotype and do a test and figure out what are your power hours for working, what are your power hours for sleeping. And because when we are studying too hard, we're in the throes of things, we don't really bring ourselves to bed. So I would say set 2 alarm clocks. The first one is 10 minutes before you're supposed to go to bed. That tells you, okay, time to go and rest, time to wind down. And the second is when you default, make sure you go to sleep. And then when it comes to nutrition, during exam seasons, you can be very tempted to reach for sugary drinks. I mean, like, we always see them marketed as energy, right? Quick bursts of energy, but that is cheap energy that actually you spend a lot of money on. A lot more expensive than just pure sugar, right? So what you're going to do instead is you're going to think about what you can do to nourish your brain. As a kid growing up, my grandmother and my mother would make me all this Chinese herbal soups that are good for my brain. And if you like that, to give yourself a bit more energy, good. It's also a great form where your parents or your grandparents show you love. But apart from that, you can also pick up B vitamins, because these are absolutely essential for your energy metabolism, to create energy in your brain and in your body. So you could pick up just B3, B6 and B12, or just grab a B supplement to help you with energy levels. And also you have to make sure that you are able to rest and recharge at night, because when you sleep, your brain is not only filing and consolidating your memories, it's also clearing out all the gunk that's happened during the day, all the irrelevant stuff, kind of like your brain is deleting all the photos you don't need that you took during the day. So what you're going to do then is you're going to have to make sure that you get restful sleep. So in this sense, I would definitely recommend magnesium supplements. So do them in the form of magnesium glycinate or citrate, and this will help your nervous system to basically be a lot more at ease rather than having spikes up and down. So when it comes to burnout, it is universal across people of different ages, that they will start to feel very much in their head. And it's not just about, thinking or strategizing. It's actually this lost tsunami of thoughts where it's always about the future and yourself as not good enough or even scary. So if you're starting to see that and you're starting to feel very, very anxious, or your body starts to feel very tight, that is a first sign. And so in that sense, watch what you're putting into your body as well, and what you're consuming on your phone. I'm not saying don't touch your phone. I'm saying make sure you're consuming things that are good for your brain and that recharge and rejuvenate you. And then a second form of burnout that we often see is when somebody just feels incredibly demotivated. Like life has little meaning, tomorrow has little meaning, they have little purpose in the world. And so if you're seeing that, again, this is another telltale sign that this is something that you have to watch out for and work upon. So when it comes to long-term success, to be able to win the long game, it's really important to have a strategy in your head on how you are wired so that you can build up sustainable focus and performance. And while I am super tempted to tell you that you can just do it slow and steady throughout the year, not everybody can do it that way. So if you've got a more attention deficit kind of brain, the type of brain that wakes up during deadlines and that is very, very active and calm during deadlines, then you are likelier to be able to do this in spurts before your exams. So honor that, but make sure that you're still doing your work sporadically during the year. And if you're the kind of person who is not calm during deadlines, you are bad at chaos, then what you need to do is you have to look at the year in advance beforehand, because remember, everything is about being strategic and winning the mental game, and breaking it down into the different steps along the way that you need to check in with yourself and review, and what bits of information you need to learn, reflect, practice, and retain throughout the year. On the actual day of the exams, students have different approaches. So again, I need you to look at your own history instead of somebody telling you you got to do X, Y, or Z. So for some students, before they go in on the day of the exam itself, they actually need to have a soft revision just to wake their brain up, more like a prequel towards the exam. So if that is you, then spend that few minutes rifling through your books, no matter what everybody else says about, oh, don't touch your stuff anymore. But for other students, it is during the night before, where once everything is done, it's done. And touching their material on the day itself stresses them out and puts them in a bad state of stress. So if that is you, then make sure that you got enough time to finish your final round thoroughly before you go to bed, and the next day, waltz into your exam hall. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me today, speaking about exam skills, how to increase your performance and how to increase your focus, which is so important today because our focus spans are getting shorter and shorter. Remember that when it comes to doing this, all you have to do is be very aware of who you are and how you're wired, so you make your mental game work for you. Thank you.